All right, welcome back to Twin Hammer podcast. We've got the Canadian scene. We've got some beastly players from the Canadian scene here who just smashed it at LVO. There's words going out about Canadian players all over the internet, and these are the guys that everyone's talking about. I'm really, really excited. We've got Vivek, who finished second last year in LVO. He went back, he dominated again, finished sixth. We've got Steven from Regina, Steven Swan. He was amazing, finished 24th in LVO. It was your first time there too, right, Steve? Second. Okay, second, smashed it. And we got Max Hannibal here and went with his amazing Phobos display, absolutely smashed it, finished 14th. And everyone here in this podcast is actually finished in the top 10 in Canada. I think yeah, so everyone was in the top 10. I think you guys all finished top 6 in the Canadian scene. Canada last year in 2024, absolutely the scene was on fire. I think it grew like 400%. So this was the reason why we have to shed light on this new scene. We're the up and coming scene. I think we announced it last year at LVO with the shirts and Vivek finished second. So now you guys cemented it nicely. Guys, welcome. And that's the intro there. We'll go and we'll get your general feel on LVO this year. It was the world record biggest tournament in the world, surpassed any other tournament so far. So yeah, maybe Max, let's start with you. It was your first time there, right?
That's right. It was my first time at LVO, not my first time in Vegas. I'd been there previously for other conventions, namely MagicCon earlier. So that was also, it was nice to go back and see how things have changed. The Rio's had a bit of a renovation since then. But no, yeah, first LVO, first major Kill Team tournament, aside from some of the other bigger local events we've had here and upstate New York. But it was a fantastic time. Great to go out and meet some of the other Canadian players who are in the scene and show the scene what we've got. Because I've been doing pretty well at some of the local events and just really excited to showcase what we can do. And I think we made a good statement on the global community.
100%. That you smashed it in all of 2024, and it's so good to see you. I was so pumped. I was like, Mac's gonna go there. He's a killer with Phobos. He's gonna smash them. So, and you did. Congrats, man. That's amazing. And you went with the perfect trifecta, which is like the generalship, the hobby to the max, and then obviously sportsmanship to the max. To the max. Max.
Great name.
Yeah. Yeah, Steve, how did you feel of LVO this year?
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah, it was really good meeting up with some of the people I met up with last year, too. Everyone I played was just such an amazing sport throughout the entire time. A big reason I wanted to come back so much last year is because I had no idea what the big competitive scenes were. The biggest tournament I had been to before LVO had been maybe like a 20-person tournament in Winnipeg. And yeah, the Kill Team community they've fostered there is actually amazing. And Squad Games, they run an amazing job there. So it was just such a wonderful experience. And to be able to come back and see some of these same people for another year, absolutely. I'm already looking forward to going back for a third year.
Oh, man. Yeah, so you were there last year.
Yeah.
So we actually didn't meet. Like, I guess we saw Koa, like
we might have like met in passing a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we...
Yeah, there's a couple people I think I met that were there previous tournaments that I just didn't bump into.
Yeah, look at us all. We were secret Canadians, just didn't know we were there.
There could be more. It's like, who knows?
Next step, we got to bring like the Vancouver folk into the fold.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys met some Vancouverites out there, or
I think two of them.
Two of them?
I don't think I had the opportunity to meet him this year, but hopefully we match or something, or just like. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we need to do like Vivek and wear the maple leaf more proudly on our chests, and then we can spot each other.
As conspicuous as
Makes
possible.
It real easy.
Yeah, I think.
Oh yeah, Vancouver brought 5 people down.
Nice. Yeah.
5 people. Wow. Yeah. Wow. So the Canadian scene, like I said, like exploding.
Off.
But we don't, because Canada is so huge, so we don't get a chance to really.
Population density makes it a little tough.
We're like 5 hours by plane away from each other, and from Vancouver, like even more than that, right? So, but that's wild. Yeah, I only saw Koa. Koa couldn't make it. He was supposed to be on the podcast today. He's got that Kill Team fever, we call it, after Kill Team.
And the king of Canadians, right? He's 5th overall. That was our highest placing.
Yeah, he finished. Yeah, and he also did really well in Worlds. And last year he did really well So shout out to you, Koa, if you watch this later. But he finished 8th in LVO last year.
Yeah,
So
top 8 back to back.
that's where he was the best Void Dancer player. I was on Void Dancers last year, so I was like, "Who's this Koa guy?" And then I found out that he was from Canada. We talked like for maybe like 30 seconds because it was like right at the end, and everyone just
Alex, do you remember the ex-military knife man who plays Void Dancers?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Loomis.
Yeah, Loomis.
Was he there this year?
Him and Kwa have been training for LVO for a hot minute.
No, is he?
Hey, yeah, he was there. He was setting up 3D printed knives to people who beat him or people he beat.
Loomis isn't
way.
Canadian, but yeah,
Yeah.
they've been playing on like TTS.
No way. I think that friendship was forged last year because he was on Void Dancers too.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's the most hilarious like juxtaposition because he's an absolutely gigantic man and
Yeah.
he looks so burly. He looks like if you give him a shield, he'd be like
He's a Viking.
like the ultimate chaos like warrior, And
Yeah.
then he's like playing with these like little dancing void dancers who are very like lithe and like very kind of musical bodies, right? So, but he's like, "You're a void dancers" last time, and he gave this like crazy knife to Koa last time. It was like we're like, how the hell is Koa gonna get that
Yeah, you're
over?
gonna take that home. Luggage though. He had checked luggage. So I think
Yeah,
he's good.
checked luggage. Yeah, luckily.
Well, yeah, he's like, "Here's a knife I earned in like the military or something. It's for you as the best Void Dancer player." And I think that's how that friendship started. Great to see that he was back there as well. And was he on Void Dancers this year? Do you know?
Yeah.
He was on Void again. Yeah.
I want to say he finished maybe 34th or maybe 39th.
Wow. They're good. They're a great team. I think my first game of the edition, first proper game, I played Void Dancers. And Vivek, let's get your take on LVO.
This is my third LVO. It's honestly only gotten better every single year. This one had the bit of the chaos of the new edition. A lot of new stuff going on, a lot of little rules that got changed that everybody had to relearn. I had a great time. Dakota puts on an amazing event. Honestly, probably the best events I've ever gone to. 4-kill team. Everything from the terrain, the rules packet, the daily briefings to cover stuff. Without a data slate, he made his own little data slate to try and balance stuff, which was great. I liked all the changes he put in. They all felt fair. They all felt like something that should be in an actual data slate that we should definitely get, hopefully soon. Yeah, this was the whole event. Always a great time. It seems to be getting bigger in all the games every year, so I'm definitely going back for another year. Probably going to go every year at this point. It's just, if you want to go play in a major event, it's one of the best ones to go play. It's really well run. The judges are great. The maps are great. The fact that every single table had a little map card next to it that you could quickly double check your terrain, like all the little stuff was there. Enough table space for everybody to like have their stuff and their dice trays around. All the little things you want in an event to be great, it's great. Which is like juxtaposed to Worlds, which was just a whole bunch of, it was like a shit fest of stuff going on at Worlds where they didn't really feel like anybody had their eye on the ball. This is the exact opposite. Like the whole thing is run really well. Even when we started late, they kept times tight so that we wouldn't go like super over. There was dice down, but they'd give people that little bit of extra time when the rounds were called to be like, hey, quickly finish up your games kind of thing. It was nice. It was a great event. Always go back for these kind of majors. It's a great time. And having to crack the top 8 2 years in a row too, which is always a good time. Always fun.
Let's go.
Let's hope the terrain set I won gets here in a timely manner. We can use it.
Well, yeah, you got some. Did he have some new Vulcus terrain?
Yeah, so he made basically 2 different versions of Vulcus. So standard Vulcus, we know we love, except it removes the third story off of the stronghold. And then he has one called Vulcus Light. So in your stronghold, it creates gaps in the walls. So there's I think it's roughly like 40 millimeter gaps in the wall, so that instead of having to climb, there are avenues where you can just run through. And all of the vantage, like all of the other terrain on top of the vantage, all of it is light instead of heavy.
Wow.
So it brought back a little more light terrain. It made vantages a little more risky to go up on because now you don't have the comfort of always just being concealed behind heavy cover. It is light, so teams like Warpcoven, teams like Phobos can take advantage of that with Seek Light. Other teams as well. I really like the change. I really like the removal of the third story because personally I don't think it adds much to the game, mostly because most teams can't interact with it in a meaningful way.
No.
And like a handful of teams can go use it to do stuff. It is never like a feels good thing.
No.
The big thing is the fact that it's unchargeable and stuff like that. So if you have some kind of perma-silent dude You just sit up there and you just can't interact with them because you can't get within 2, can't move up, you can't charge because there's no over your base to fit.
Yeah.
So I really like the removal. I remove that kind of like little piece of jank from Volcus. I'm a huge fan.
I think that's really good because I have a few funny stories from that third floor vantage. I mean, apart from people like on mandrakes just putting somebody up there like right away and just surveillancing, that's pretty like never easy to interact with mandrakes. But I remember my first where I stopped playing Void Dancers was I was feeling good. I was on my 3rd game and I played Vivek on Warpcoven.
Did I fly a sorcerer up to the 3rd floor? I definitely did. Didn't I?
He put his flying sorcerer on that 3rd advantage, and then I'm like, oh man, even with this 1-inch climb in my Void Dancers, like, I was like, I'm gonna charge you. You're like, well, you can't actually. I was like, but I have 25mm bases. I could fit on there. He's like, well, no, you can't. I
put it like exactly in the middle. There is no space for a 25mm to fit if you charge up the long side.
I have one of my Void Dancers here, and I was like literally trying to balance it
on like the little piece of rubble against the wall. Be like, all right, let me find a space.
Yeah, and so I mean, and then I played Warpcoven because I joined the Brotherhood of Sorcerers, and I was always gunning for that 3rd floor, right? So I think that's a very positive change. And I think what I love about Dakota and Giacomo from every time I've seen them, but especially from last year from Las Vegas, was that like, not only are they super tight on the rules, they're super aware of the rules because they're always covering it in their channel and everything like that, and they're always playing. But like, they're so gregarious about running. Like, you feel like
they're good dudes. Like, they're there to also have a good time, you know?
Yeah, they're just class individuals that like, they'll come up and be like, oh, I hope you're doing well. How you doing? Like, they're really present with you. And so I think feeling like that when you have a tournament that you're going to and there's like almost 200 people and there's a lot going on, and we just like, even just remembering the checklist of stuff like dice trade, cards, these kind of things is a lot. And you're running from game to game, to have like people like that come over if there's something like that you need rules or anything, and they're like clarifying it and doing an FAQ, and then they're like really great guys to talk to and really, you know, gentlemanly and classy. It's like, you know, I was like, wow, this is fun. This is really fun, right? So
good vibes.
Glad to hear it was like that this year. And yeah, like the fact that there's custom terrain, which is really sick. Even last year's terrain was so sick with the
I forgot to mention the asymmetric Into the Dark maps. Love them every single time Dakota does anything with ITD or Galadark. Phenomenal changes. I played on some real janky maps at a real good time.
The GW ones don't even come close to the ones that
they're
they
like the
set up
GW
there.
ones are okay, but Dakota's ones have some spice to it. The blown out hatchways, the whole thing is great.
Yeah. Well, it's much more close quarters. Like a lot of the GW ones have these massive rooms.
Oh, yeah, it's like here's your long hallway.
Yeah, it doesn't really take advantage of what, you know, Into the Dark is supposed to be. So Dakota's maps are really amazing for that.
Yeah, we actually played the Basement Ambassadors tournament with Ryan and Aiden, which was the biggest tournament in Canada a week ago. I'm gonna have the guys on here to talk about that. But they used Dakota's maps, map packs, and that was the first time I played them in the new edition. And I was like, my God, I miss this Into the Dark so much. Like the new edition Into the Dark, it's like, where did all the crazy fun of all these like cool hallways and doors go? Now we're just like entering 3 massive rooms, and everything's about Seek Light or Seek. If you have a Seek Light, then all of a sudden you're laughing, right? But if you don't, like my team is like fucked, right?
So your opponent has Seek Lights. Like, why am I even taking barricades?
Yeah,
you
pretty
know?
much.
Yeah. And I just remember like that the sorcerer with full Seek on the Warpcoven, you just like licking your lips every time you get Into the Dark, because you're like, I literally on my first game of Worlds destroyed a full Plague Marine with the Seek Light.
Oh my
just
God.
Behind a parry. Like,
that's a lot of damage.
That's a lot of luck. It abandoned me the rest of the way, but yeah, just like things like Warpcoven, there's a reason why, you know, it's still so juicy, because you have all the toolkits available for you in Into the Dark. But so we got Volcus Light, we got different Volcus, no Vantage, beautiful Into the Dark, and then was it only Into the Dark and Volcus that you guys?
Yeah, it was only ITD and Volcus. Another thing Dakota did with the Volcus maps he made, he kind of cleaned up the terrain. You know how we have like tons of little cubbies and whatnot on the GW Volcus? He made them he eliminated some and made some more distinct. So it's like very obviously a place you can use cover and no longer a thing was like, gonna tag my base in, and me and you're gonna have a conversation about where the tangent line is for this cover line.
That's awesome. That's so well thought out, and it's like,
And he did it for like 90 boards almost. Like, it's insane.
the amount of work, like, just to get enough boards, and never mind like produce those boards and have them ready for everyone. I mean, it's just like tremendous, right? And they're not even based out of Vegas. They have to bring all that
There's
stuff over.
SoCal, so it's a journey still.
It's mind blowing. And how did you guys feel with the 3x3? You still enjoyed that 3 days by 3 games? I think that was ideal, right?
Personally, I'd love if they went to a 3x4 and we played 4 games a day, but that's just me. That's probably just me.
Yeah, I
Both
think that's
nice
just
to
you.
finish at a sensible time, but you could definitely squeeze one more in if you wanted to be a little bit
Yeah.
spiky. Maybe like not all of the days have 3, maybe one has 4, but it was actually quite nice coming from a background where you're at Magic conventions and you're playing until the convention hall closes. It was nice to actually be able to go, okay, no, this is all we have to do today. We can actually get out and enjoy the rest of the night, or at least have some time to decompress and think about what's coming next.
Yeah, Steve, how did you feel with that?
I love the 3 games. Every time I play 4 games in a tournament where there's massive pressure and great players, my mind is total jelly after game 3. And I did one tournament just once that had, 5 games in a day, and I was just like, okay, that was a previous edition Pathfinder mirror match. I'm just kind of going to do things, and they're going to have consequences, and I have not 2 brain cells working up here to figure out what those consequences are going to be. So I really like 3 games. I think that's a nice sweet spot where, when the pressure's on and you're facing off against, some of the top kill team players around the world. Like Max was saying, you kind of have time to decompress a bit, and your mind doesn't go quite so to jelly.
Yeah, I think the 3x3, if you're doing a 3-day event, that 3x3 is a good time, because one of the reasons, like, I was already like a lot on my plate. I couldn't go to Las Vegas this year. It was like, not only is it a lot on my plate, but if I'm gonna like be absolutely exhausted after, that's gonna be like even crazier, right? So it's nice to have those days where you can actually have a vacation as well. It's a kind of
Yeah,
vacation.
I'd
You're not just there like, because a lot of us don't have time to book like a whole week off and really have like the whole Vegas experience, right? So having some time. That being said, what did you guys get up to? Was there any spicy stuff that you guys got up to after the games, or was it more just like eat and crash?
There's a lot of
Depends
that.
on the
I
night.
mean,
Yeah, there was a lot
rest
of get
of-
together, eat and hang out, and then by like 10:30, half of everybody is dead, which makes sense because we've all been playing Kill Team or 40K all day.
Did you guys get together with yourselves here, or
The Maple Leaf crew, Will, Niall.
oh, nice, yeah. Will and Niall were there this year. I didn't realize.
Niall smashed it. He went 5-1
Wow,
in 40K. It was really good. He came top 50, high 40s.
amazing.
Really
He
good.
smashed it
Really
last year
good.
too.
So he's also like me. He's gone 3 years. He's done better every single year. So last year he was 4 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw. And now he's 5 wins, 1 loss. So, give it one more year. He's going to make that top cut.
He's gonna make it. He was so close last year. Apparently, Angron didn't come back from the dead or something.
He needs to go learn to call a judge over and not let people get away with stuff is what cost them that top cut last year.
I think the funniest thing from last year was that we finished. I don't know if you guys met. Did you meet Niall this year? Steve and Max? Did you have?
I don't think they did
I don't
Okay.
think so.
because they were busy on the Sunday.
Yeah. So the funniest thing last year was going over to our couple of 40K buddies who were from Maple Leaf Wargaming, is that when you look at the 40K tables at LVO, you almost need a freaking buggy to get to your next pairing. It's like, oh, you're on table like for 100. You have to go to table 1.
It's like, it's literally like half a kilometer that way.
You're like, all right, let me just pack up my 400 models in my massive tray. You might as well like put some like wheels and a steering wheel on that tray and just like, give her a
little
go.
tractor.
But
Somebody's gonna do it. Somebody's gonna show up with a transport buggy one year just to do that. Mark.
Playing Inquisition's almost like that too.
right? Except now the choice is a little more nuanced. You're just like, Kazakh. All right, I'm going. Yeah.
Is it? I still think it's Kazakh.
Yeah, right. Steve, were you from 40K as well?
No, I never got into 40K.
Yeah.
I'm into a lot of the different skirmish games, Necromunda. I'm just joined a Blood Bowl season because
Ooh, I'm jealous.
that's a special love of mine. Yeah, a lot of the little skirmish games is where I find my jam as opposed to big 40K.
Yeah, I think it just made it so much easier. We were in Warhammer Fantasy, my brother and I, and then 10 years later, we actually didn't do any Warhammer for 10 years. And then my brother's like, dude, they made the skirmish games. I was like, no. We played one of the games. I was like, wait, let's go. We like bought like all the Warcry stuff immediately after. And it's
and
just,
somewhere on the road you found Maple Leaf, and now here.
yeah. And George found me from a deep Reddit. I was like, anyone...
Already found you on Reddit.
I was like, anyone from Toronto play Kill Team? And he like found me from that post. And,
that's
and
awesome.
Then, like, yeah,
Small world, man.
Yeah, it's so
Love
funny,
it.
man. And
Well,
Mac,
it's like how I found Maple Leaf. I found it. I don't even scroll through Facebook. I was on Facebook to wish somebody a happy birthday, and I saw Phil GW's post about like, hey, we got this group. We're looking to add guys to this group. I'm like, all right, shot him a message, and now here I am.
no
Post COVID later.
No,
Awesome.
wait, that was during COVID?
Yeah, I joined 2022, somewhere like that. Yeah, like in the middle of COVID.
Wow. And Max, how did you get into Kill Team? Because I know you were in 40K as well.
It was a very brief flirtation at the beginning because I got back into Warhammer in general at the start of 2023. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to start this, try and paint some models up, get good at the painting first, really not bothered about the competitive side of the game. I was focusing big on Magic at that time, doing regular like 1Ks and regional champs qualifiers, things like that. So this is going to be my fun hobby, and then Magic can be my competitive hobby. So painted up a few models, and then as I got closer and closer to assembling a full kill team, I decided to try it out before getting into the big game because I figured let's start small and go from there. And then I just absolutely fell in love with it, and it very quickly turned from this will be my casual game to, I actually really enjoy this and I might be quite good at it. So it was a very quick transition from being a casual gamer to a competitive gamer, and then throwing big 40K to the wayside. So I will still play from time to time. I'm in the Ontario League, and I'll join.
We've
in
got like 3 team tournaments coming up in the next
exactly
6
or an
months.
RTC here and there. Kill Team is definitely my one love right now as far as Warhammer goes.
Oh man, yeah, I couldn't imagine you as a casual, just a casual Kill Team player.
On Switch,
Look, he's just a casual guy, okay? He's a super duper casual.
Got to min-max everything.
Yeah, man, that's so cool. And what's your team in 40K?
So it starts with Space Marines just because everyone does.
Yeah.
Do my Raptors, but then I quickly changed on to World Eaters because they do one thing, they do it very well. So I figured just learn all their tricks, and then they've got a small codex at the moment. Hopefully some new stuff coming soon, but a much smaller roster of units compared to Space Marine, so can really drill down and learn what they do, all their intricacies.
Yeah, so you started Warhammer in 2023? Was like you never done it before?
I mean, I had a mild introduction to it back when I was like 10 years old back in the UK, but I mean, didn't have enough money to buy the codex or the rulebook, let alone more models, so that was...
Even back in the day when they were like
one.
affordable.
Exactly.
Right?
And I still have my old models, and I had a look at them last night, and yeah, I'm glad that the one thing I have learned throughout the years is how to thin your paint, because some of those are no details left.
Yeah. I think we all went through that at the beginning. I started when I was 13. We actually, this past weekend, had our buddy Sean, who got us into Warhammer. It was his birthday, so we had like 3 days of Old World to celebrate because we got into Warhammer Fantasy. But it feels so good to come back as like in your thieves, like, or in your late 20s, and like be like, actually I can afford this now. You know, this is so accessible for me now. This is amazing.
Well, yeah, every now and again you drop like a car payment's worth of stuff on models, but it's affordable when you make some money.
Affordable, right? Yeah. But
lifestyle expense.
More than our 13-year-old selves or 14-year-old selves would have been able to afford. But Steven, when did you get into Warhammer? You got in
when I was, I was 9. So I got sucked in by my local supermarket having a like 8-foot tall red Space Marine in the window, and any kid who sees that goes up to that store and has to figure out what that's all about. But I was about the biggest Lord of the Rings nerd around at that time, and I got sucked into the Lord of the Rings strategy battle game. And I was into that for years, along with my older brother. And then sadly, our local Games Workshop closed down. And for me at 14 years old, not a whole lot of social media, didn't know too many people like I don't think I knew anyone my age, apart from my brother who played it. So, the hobby just kind of died for me for a while. And then it wasn't until we got a Warhammer store that opened here, I want to say maybe about 5 years ago now. And me and my brother were like, "Hey, remember this like Warhammer thing we used to do? Like, well, why don't we try that again?" And there's this new game. It's called Kill Team, and there's the starter kit. We could try with that. So I came back and we bought the Kill Team version 1 AdMech versus Gene Stealer Cult starter. I split that, and Kill Team 1 was very jank compared to Kill Team 2 and 3. But it was good enough that we enjoyed it at the time. Then I kind of pivoted into Warcry, which I kind of like those rules a little bit better than Kill Team 1. Yeah. And then Kill Team 2, like, basically brought all the best parts of Warcry, brought them into Kill Team, and I fell absolutely in love with Kill Team 2. And that's when I kind of started doing it on the competitive side with Qua.
Wow. Yeah, Thomas and I also did like 6 months of Warcry. We have like 30 Warcry warbands as well. We went absolutely like next level. We were like, this is amazing, right?
Yeah.
And the beauty about the skirmish is that it gives you a chance to try all the factions out that you wish you could have, but you had to buy 200 models and like $1,000 worth, right? So now it's like $70 and you can play all the factions that you're like, oh, that was cool, right?
Yep, I feel that way about a lot of the skirmish games. Blood Bowl it's at most a 2-box team for Blood Bowl. But yeah, and Kill Team's usually pretty similar. There are some more expensive ones, but yeah, 1, 2, maybe 3 boxes in some cases, and it's rather cheap to play the field a little bit rather than, okay, I'm going to drop like $2,000 on my 40K army, and it's going to take me, probably 3 years to paint, and that is my army because I'm not doing that again, sort of thing.
Right. Yeah.
But then you do it again because something new. You want something new.
Yeah.
I had to physically restrain myself from starting a Custodes army for all these team events we have coming up. But I promised myself I would not buy any models in 2025 till I've at least painted like a half dozen kill teams and 2,000 points of 40K.
Yeah.
How much backlog? So that's Vivek's backlog. How much?
I'm not answering that question.
Oh.
Not even like a little bit. I'm not giving an idea.
That is a heated question.
That's on your table backlog. I was asking the other guys. I was like, I feel like there's more backlog. What are your next hobbies? What's on your next hobby check?
So I made a list at the start of last year about all the things that I hadn't painted, and I made really good progress. So I've done my World Eaters. I've done most of my Space Marines. I have a bunch of kill teams need to paint up, but then I also have a load of Seraphon for Age of Sigmar, which are like half built, still sitting in a box, not even based. So I have to make the decision whether I'm going to actually get into another game system or whether I'm happy with kill team and 40K. Maybe we cut our losses on Age of Sigmar, even though those Seraphon models look really fantastic.
They're such sexy models, man.
They're
like almost impossible to resist buying. They're like dinosaurs that look fucking so sick.
It's so cool. Yeah. So I've got a couple of kill teams on the go, a couple of kit bash projects coming. Next one that I'm currently in the process of and really excited about is doing Felgor Ravagers, except they're Blood Angels Death Company. So the idea is when they frenzy, they're succumbing to the Black Rage. So they're both on 32s. They'll be a little bit bigger, but it's more of a disadvantage for me, I guess, if they're sticking out and got all sorts of pointy bits.
Dude, I love that. I actually did the Sargor Felgor. So I did the Seraphon Felgor. So maybe we'll have a non-Felgor.
Alex, I got a question for you. Do you own a kill team that's not a conversion?
Actually, I got these guys right here that I can't wait to play with.
Oh,
I hope that they're good soon.
Oh, yes. We all do. These are amazing models.
They're unbelievable. I got the Aquilon still on my Grey and Wormblade and a bunch of stuff that then became classified immediately as soon as I bought them. I was like, damn, I got the clock on me now, but I can't wait.
It should still be fine for all of our locals. I don't think they're going to drop them.
Yeah. I can't wait for the data slate to kind of refresh it, get those Aquilons and get those the Scions. Like what are these called? I'm blanking on the names right now.
Vespids.
Vespids, yeah, thank you, yeah. I was like, Scions and Aquilons? That sounds like the same model.
Look, I don't think we're going to see a data slate. I think they're legitimately completely stumped on how they're going to try and balance this game. Like, guys, we cut too many objectives. We don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah.
I hope not.
Right? I just think it would refresh, like, some of those new teams, give them a little bit more juice and and allow us to like play them on the competitive scenes that you feel like. I always have this debate in my mind where I'm like, I'm going to play for fun. But then when you play for too much fun, then you don't have as much fun as you could have.
Yeah, because you still want to try hard, you know?
Yeah.
You still want to put in some effort, receive some rewards for that effort.
Yeah, being competitive is part of the fun, right? So there is that balance to it, right? And that's let's bring it back to Vegas a bit here and bring it back to, speaking of being competitive, how you guys did in your games. And I want to hear about a little bit of your games and how you felt about the competition, the data slate. Obviously, we had 2 Warpcoven players finish first, so we'll talk about that. So it seems like they're still pretty strong. The FAQ didn't really tone them down overly, I guess. But yeah, I guess let's start with you, Max. Like, how did you find your games? Tell us, like, give us, I guess, a highlight of your favorite game, and then your most challenging game, and then how you felt about the competition overall with Phobos.
Yeah, absolutely. So I came in really excited. I was feeling really confident in my choice. I've been playing Phobos for a while. They were my first kill team that I played when I got into the game, and it's been fantastic now that they are good again. And so I started off, my first round was against Star Striders, against a guy called Connor, lovely opponent, and I had an unfortunate event. It was against him on Gallowdark, where his assassin was able to essentially get a 2-for-1 against 2 of my Reavers, which was absolutely devastating. I charged, rolled like 1, 1, 2, 3, and another 2, rolled into a second hit. He parried before I could do anything, struck for 4, and then my Reaver died on his own activation. Tried to follow up and just try and double tap it. Nope, half damage, nothing's happening. So ended up being a really rough start, and it sort of went south from there. Fortunately, I clawed it back, and I think the end result was something like 11-15. But I was feeling a little bit knocked after that. I was like, okay, I came in here with high hopes, wonder where we're going to go from here. So sailing into round 2, my opponent was a no-show. So I was like, okay, well, we'll take that. It's a free win, until about 10 minutes later, where Dakota or one of the other TOs came up and said, hey, we got another no-show and we're going to pay you up. And my round 2 pairing happened to be Sammy Mura, who, if you know anything about how LVO happened this year, he won. He took it down with Warpcoven. So 1, I went from going, excellent, I've got a free win, to, oh no, I'm playing against Warpcoven, to, oh no, it's Warpcoven on Into the Dark, and everything has to go my way for me to even have a sniff at victory here. So we had a good enough game, a couple of generous movements and other things, which hopefully didn't carry through to some of his other games. But overall, it was a good quality match, competitive. He had a confident win. I think it was something like 12-18. But hey, it is what it is. Round 3, hoping to salvage some aspect of dignity coming into the end of day 1, starting with such high hopes and then getting 2 back-to-back losses was not where I wanted to be. But I was matched against Warpcoven yet again. So again, entering the match, going, oh, what is going on? If, for context, at the start of this edition, my first, I think, 20 matches, I've been logging them, and over 50% of my first 20 matches were against Warpcoven. So I am sick up to here with them at this point. But as it happens, my round 3 opponent was
still a good run of practice games.
Made some errors in staging turn 1. I was able to get some sorcerers off the board on turn 1, things like that. So thankfully, I was able to salvage a bit of dignity at the end of the day, and day 1 at 1 and 2. So day 2 was on open, and I'll just quickly breeze through those. I think I benefited a bit from losing the first 2. They were maybe newer opponents to the game, so pretty confident wins round 1 and round 2 of day 2. And then my final round ended up being probably my favorite game of the tournament, if not my second favorite. This was against Blaine on Novitiates. So I'd not played Novitiates competitively, let alone in this edition. So it was a lot of learning. I think I shot his Novitiates 6 times with 6 consecutive bolter shots, and still didn't get him off the board until I counteracted for like the 7th time and finally got it. Just made him burn through about 15 faith points, keeping this one sister alive. But it was a really tight game. Blaine was a wonderful opponent and managed to salvage it. So day 2 was undefeated for me. And then on day 3 started again with another Novitiates opponent. And this was against Devin W, if I'm not mistaken. And again, really, really good quality opponent. Loved playing him. Just top-notch, competitive, pushed me to my limits. Could very easily have gone the other way. He made a slight sequencing misplay in the last couple of activations, which really cost him. But those 2 were easily my favorite games of the tournament. Penultimate round was against Angel of Death, against Jason from Just Another Kill Team podcast.
Oh, wow.
Wonderful game, really competitive, really pushed me to the limit. And Unfortunately, it didn't go my way that time. Instead of my opponent making the sequencing errors, I messed up the final turns and let victory slip through my hands. So it was a 5-win streak after losing my first 2 rounds, which I was happy with. And then my final round was against Warpcoven yet again. Didn't go into it with too high hopes, but it was very fortunate to come back around my way. He made a ballsy full seek shot against one of my guys who lived, but then kept his sorcerer out in the open. It didn't push his plan back to concealed, so I was able to take a sorcerer off turn 1 and then end up with a confident 21-1 victory to end the tournament. So ended on a high note for sure. Played 3 Angels of Death, 3 Warpcoven, 2 Novitiates, and the Star Striders to kick things off. So I was really happy with my performance, really happy to come back from 0-2, and had some really great quality opponents, and both from a sportsmanship point of view and from a competitive aspect, couldn't have asked for more.
Wow. I mean, I'll leave it on, like, if you leave this data slate with Warpcoven on a 21-1, you I think that will redeem all those like 60+ Warpcoven games you've had to endure in this first this you're literally playing Warpcoven on a daily basis almost.
If I never
we
see
were
it again,
building up to
it'll be
LVO. We played like, I don't know, 12 games in the 2 weeks before LVO.
No way.
Played a lot.
You guys grinded hard to
he put
before
me through the
LVO
ringer.
too. Yeah. And you guys certainly did well. I think I had the exact same experience as you last year, Max, with the Void Dancers. I went 1-2, then 3-0, but you actually got to the 6-3. I fell to 5-4 in my last game. So congrats, man. That's like
still great for your
amazing-
first major, you know?
that is
really
an
happy with that.
incredible result in your first major, which I can't even believe, like, how good you are, and that's your first major. Like, you've never beat any other majors, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, the closest thing was the Salt City Open in Syracuse. That was just I think that was a 5-rounder, 5-6 rounder.
5-6. Oh yeah. And even there, you got to the finals, and maybe we'll
By 1 point.
very controversially lost. Well,
Story for another time.
Yeah, but yeah, you got to the finals there. So, dude, amazing. And then just before we move on, Phobos, because they were my first team as well. My first love. I went to the store and it was between Farstalkers and Phobos.
You made a good choice.
I was literally, I'm like a 33-year-old man standing in a hobby shop, staring at 2 kill teams for like an hour. And I was like, I put them back on the shelf and I was like, okay, if Phobos are still here tomorrow, I will buy them. They'll be my first kill team. If not, it's the Farstalkers, right? And that's how I started with Phobos. But how do you like them in the new edition?
Oh, I love them. They're a lot shootier than they were last edition. You really have to change the way you think about the team sometimes. There's some tricks you have in addition, some tricks you left out. We don't get the free 2-inch climb, drop, that sort of thing on everyone. We just have it on the Reavers. But some really nice tricks, and the internal balance of the team is fantastic. With such a wide array of operatives that you can take, it really rewards being a good pilot of the team and then knowing the meta, because if you are able to choose the right operatives into whatever matchup and whatever map you're on, it's really hard to have an unwinnable match. Just that internal balance really feels like you have game into everyone, and that's why I love them into a longer form tournament where you're going to be facing all sorts of different matchups.
That was a really cool thing when I first started building the team. Is like, wow, there's so many cool operatives, and having the 3 different types of operatives that you could choose on top of that was really cool. How is the Vox Breaker and the comms this edition?
So I came into it very unenthusiastic about the comms, very enthusiastic about the Vox. I've now flipped and I'm really enthusiastic about the commsman especially, but the Vox Breaker is still fantastic. Being able to pop the Seek Light when he turns on his phone to help out the marksman, that's huge. So I found, I think every single game, Marksman, Vox Breaker, they were my auto takes. Commsman was pretty much an auto take. And then you take at least 1 Reaver, and then you got 2 sort of flex spots. But yeah, Vox Breaker is fantastic. The no reroll aura came in every single game.
Wow, it's kind of like a Psychomancer then. Like,
yeah, it's huge. Got the 6-inch no reroll aura, which you don't have to do anything for. It's just permanently on.
I love that because I built the Vox Breaker and then I converted him to something else because I'm like, I'm never going to use him in the 2nd edition, right?
Yeah.
But the Commsman also, I discovered I was playing Phobos in Worlds, and the guy had 2 models left on 1 wound and 4 wounds. And he polished off all the rest of my sorcerers. I had 2 sorcerers and a Zangor champion. And with the Commsman, he snuck him around. He went on no injury. The no injury is like crazy, right? And then he just lit all 3 of my models up. I was like, I'm gonna win this no problem. And then the victory was like, no. I was like, oh no, I'm not. I lost. Oh God. So I really saw that the Phobos were so flexible and they could stay in it right till the end, even if I thought I was like, you have the upper hand, like no injury. Okay, I have 2 full ready operatives ready to do it, right? So that's really cool. Steven, how did you find what were you on? What was your team?
Hierotech Circle.
Ooh, Hierotech.
Yeah, and just going through the rules for factions I had in this edition, that was really the first one I fell in love with. Before I could get a game in, I was just kind of doing the mental math of what abilities they had and looking at all the Cryptech spells and whatnot, and looking at some of the profiles like the Death Mark being really good in this edition. Was enough to get me really excited for the team.
And so how did you find, like, what was your top games, and how did you find the team, and what did you guys play? Steven, Vivek, you guys
played the last round.
The last round. Wow.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna hear from both sides the juicy details of that.
Yes,
game.
exactly. So I better be super honest, because Vivek is gonna keep me honest here if I tell him he just got super lucky, and if it weren't for his dice.
No, I got like medium lucky. I got minimum like 2 crits on every Doom Bolt. It's a good time.
Yeah,
good time for the Doom Bolts.
Well, yeah, we're skipping ahead there, but
yeah. Tell us the flow. How were you on Into Dark day 1 and then Open day 2?
Yeah, Into the Dark. Actually, to really put it in perspective what this tournament was for me, I actually have to go back before LVO. See, I work for UPS as a driver, and last year I was able to prep with Qua, getting games in on weekdays, and certainly every weekend. There's this little company called Canada Post that went on strike this year, and I gotta be honest, I have never been so unprepared in my life. So there's actually 6 kill teams six of my games were against teams I literally just hadn't played before, which would be Warpcoven. I never actually had a game. I did read up on their tricks and whatnot because I felt I had to. They're kind of a big deal this edition, but I never got to play them. I never played Initiates, Angels of Death, which I think was fine. They're rather honest. Nemesis Claw.
That's a dishonest team right there.
Yeah, and I guess I double up on Warpcoven games and Novitiates, but I fought a lot of beasts in this tournament. Like I actually looked into it. My lowest rating opponent came in at number 48. So I didn't get one of those easy matches you might get in round 1. Round 1 was against Sammy. This guy, I was never acquainted with him, but I mean, I guess he's pretty good at Kill Team. He won some LVO tournament this weekend, so yeah.
But our boy took him down.
Yes, but I am the only person who took him down. So
wait.
Yeah.
You beat him first?
Yeah, he beat him in round 1. He's Sammy's only loss for the tournament.
Wait.
Yeah, so...
Man,
Yeah, I think some things that really swung it in my favor is he got really aggressive with doing a move dash to a Zangor towards the middle that I was able to punish by using my accelerator drone to bump up the APL of a Death Mark. And then I did a move dash and paid a CP to go on, the Hierotech Circle, a conceal guard. So I was on conceal within 2 inches of his model and in cover. And I actually barely had the distance, but it was just a play that essentially earned me a free shot on one of the Zangors. That helped a lot. I won Turning Point 2 initiative, which also helped. And yeah, it just kind of spiraled as I think there was a slight mispositioning with his Soul Reaper cannon. We kind of did a post-game breakdown where he kind of had it in the center, whereas if he had it on the side, the objective on his point of the board, I felt he could have guarded that room more. But what I was able to do is just push forward an Immortal plus an Apprentech. And when I won Turning Point 2 initiative, I think what I had done was I might have even paid for the Apprentech to dash the Immortal up 3 inches. He got a flanking shot on a Zangor, and so what I did is I just activated the Apprentech, had the Apprentech do his thing. I think he just moved up and shot someone, and then he commanded the Immortal to take a shot of his own. So it was kind of a pseudo GA2 move there, which I think those things together sort of won me the game. That said, another things that didn't hurt is I think almost every time he charged one of my models, and I have Tesla Weave, D3 damage, I think I rolled 3 almost every time. It
Wow.
really was almost max damage. And that kind of throws off the math for those Angors, because if I do 3 damage to you, next thing you know, my Immortals are within 2 hit range. So it was actually quite some impactful luck in that regard as well.
How many Zangors did he take? Did he do the four or six?
Four Zangors, yeah.
4 Zangors, yeah. It sounded like a lot of Zangors by the description, but that's awesome. And so that was your biggest sculpt of the tournament.
Yeah.
What
yeah,
other...
like so many people, like I actually fought that Connor guy as well on Star Striders, and that was actually my narrowest win in the tournament at a score of 9-8, because, you know, I played Star Striders last edition. That's what I brought to LVO, and you know, he had this great move where, because of how aggressive I am as a Necrons player, he was able to move dash Canid in behind my lines around a corner where I had already basically evacuated my deployment zone, and now the dog's hiding in it. And I had nothing that could deal with him, so that dog went on to deny me contain, and I took a primary tack up. Essentially, that dog denied me 9 points by himself. But luckily, I was just able to dominate the kill op and the crit op enough that, you know, even 0 scoring my primary and tack op, I was able to barely eke out the win.
Wow.
But yeah, he was a very good player.
So you're telling me you got some hot, sweet vengeance for Max?
Yeah, so a little revenge, yeah.
Just taking down both of those guys. Screw day one. Yeah. So that's amazing. But yeah, contain is hard like that, where it's like you think you're like, I'm gonna have a stone wall, and then all of a sudden, you know, somebody moves a tome skull in there or something.
Yeah,
or the dog.
It actually scared me so bad that in my next game versus Novitiates, which I was thinking I would take, same thing, I would take in that matchup probably contain and make it my primary op on the tack op. I just didn't. I think I took confirmed kill instead, which I think ended up working fine. I scored 5 on the tack op, and so respectable anyways. But because, again, I'm so aggressive, I'm teleporting my guys up with the Chronomancer. Contain actually would have been a quite easy score in that game. Yeah, that was against Edward, and he's actually a very good Novitiates player as well. You know, I guess I should say that I took the Chronomancer in all my games except for against the Warpcoven, which I took the Technomancer.
Wow.
Mostly because I suck with the Psychomancer. I've tried him a couple times, and I totally understand how ridiculous that bubble is. I do. I just don't feel like I have the teeth. I don't detect the certain improvements against the confidence with swings to open the this my so family with all the same within 2 weeks of that. I am not saying the Psychomancer's bad. I'm just saying I personally suck with it. I've had a horrendous time trying to pilot it myself.
I think that's a wonderful thing in the new edition, because for Hierotech, like, Chrono was like the default choice last edition. Like, it was the only choice almost.
Yes.
And now that the Technomancer and Psychomancer are such like legitimate like options that you can man. Like Shane from Command Point, we were rooming with him in Worlds, and he went for the Psychomancer like I think 80% of his games. And so just to hear that he went that way and you went Chrono 80% and then the Techno for some of the other ones, I think it's cool. And it sounds like, which I love about Kill Team, is like the teams are the same, but you make them your own. Like when I first played Max with Phobos, I was like, how is Max playing Phobos like this? Like, it was so different than how I played Phobos, that I had my little Void Dancer girls like shrieking in a corner. You know, I was like, what's going on? But
no.
It really is a cool thing to see. Like, even 4 of us on Warpcoven, we all played it different. And so Hierotech being like more variety, I think is really good. And the death marks being more legitimate options, I think this time. Did you take 2 death marks in every game?
I think so. Yeah, literally 2 death marks. And then my only choice was whether I wanted to go Tesla carbines or Gauss blasters, which I think maybe there was only like 1 or 2 games I took the Gauss blasters, especially in ITD. Those Tesla carbines being lethal 5 is just too good of an option to pass up on. But yeah, like against both my Novitiates matchups and my Angels of Death matchups, I don't think any of my opponents were expecting me to be in getting the angles I was getting on turning point 1, because that's the way I play. Is essentially I put a death mark on guard, that death mark conceal guard. I move up the Apprentech and I put him on engage, even though he's not going to be shooting, just so that the Apprentech can launch up the Deathmark, and then my Chronomancer can move up, teleport the Apprentice, and then magnify through them. And it usually gets you a incredible shot, and not a lot of teams are expecting that on turning point 1 for you to have a model that's over half the board and now is hitting you with a 2-inch blast. So I won a couple of my games just by catching my opponents off guard with that little combo.
Wow, that's so cool. That's like super aggro. And I don't know if you've seen the Warhammer Plus show with the Hierotech in it. It's like really features the death marks and like them teleporting everywhere and like shooting space marines. Do you guys remember, Vivek, Max, what that show's called?
I don't remember what it's called. I do remember watching all of it.
It's
in like a
Pariah
fever-dream
Nexus.
binge.
Pariah Nexus,
There you
right?
go.
Yeah, Pariah Nexus, yeah. I think that's incredible, like, footage if anyone is interested in watching that. But, like, I'm just, as you're describing your style of play, Steve, I'm just like, man, I can see these guys just popping out of green for freaking things and just getting all these great shots. So that sounds like you're like a really cool aggro style, push up fast type of Hierotech player. And
Yeah, and George, who was my Angels of Death matchup, he had clumped up 3 of his guys within blast range that I was just able to get the angle on, which was basically game over because I threw a ceaseless shot into 3 Marines, 1 turning point 2 initiative, which I was weighted to, but still, and then I was just like, well, that worked out well last time. Let's do that again. And I basically just took all 3 models off, and that was pretty much the game right there. And his reaction was pretty much amazing, which is another thing that, like, when I did these gotchas that people weren't expecting, everyone's reactions were great. I think George's reaction was my favorite, which is just like, I think we were both undefeated at the time, and George just said, "That is so cool." He said, "If you're my only loss today, like I'm so happy because you have shown me something with the team that no one has thrown against me before." He's like, "I'm used to fighting Hierotech Circle, playing KG, taking Contain and the Psychomancer." He's like, I just never even considered that you could do something like that. And I was like, yeah, it's really powerful.
That's incredible. And I think it's a testament to the kill team community that, like, every game you play, it's usually against somebody who's like amazing like that. And the salty games are like far and few between from the really the great opponents that you have, right? So I was joking with someone who's like, I play a game called Kill Team, but it's like the classiest, like, nicest people, because I guess we're getting all of our aggro out on the boards.
Yeah.
We can be true gentlemen away from that, right? So that's amazing, right? And what would you say was your like funnest? That sounds like the funnest moment, like just vaporizing 3 Space Marines with a double ceaseless shot.
You know what? I would say, my funnest moment was trying that same method against Jeshua and watching him have all the answers to it. This was my 3rd game of doing this strategy. I just played the Novitiates, I think back-to-back Novitiates games, and then Angels of Death, and it just worked. The turning point 1 aggression, pretty much put them really far on the back foot in turning point 1. And then I tried that against Jeshua, and it's like, okay, he charged my death mark, which is fine. I took a point-blank Overwatch. I have Seek, and he left me alive. Why didn't I think that was a thing I could do? I was thinking, I have my other death mark back here who now has Seek. I could get another shot on this guy, but he left me alive. That really complicates things. And yeah, he played such a perfect game against me that every time I thought I had something against him, he'd come up and throw another wrench into the plan. Turning point 2, okay, I think I've got a shot on that leader now with my death mark, but I don't think I need to take it right now. His leader's already activated. Well, he comes over and he smokes him, and I'm like, yeah, okay, that doesn't matter too much, I can ignore Obscure at least. And then he comes in with a different guy. He charge fights Plasma Sight Accelerator within 3. He's like, okay, well, with Terror, I now APL down your death mark. And I'm like, well, that's a problem because I need to spend one of those APL to ignore Obscure and the other one to shoot. And that was my comms. So I was like, mad respect to that was probably my favorite game just because, like, that's probably the one game I have where I'm just like, yeah, you completely outplayed me. You had an answer to all my shenanigans that other players just didn't. And being in the seat where I'm the one being surprised, that was really refreshing, actually. That's, there's always, there's always better players, man, and he's a beast. Yeah.
What if the only way to learn is to play better players?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why you go to these competitions. That's why everyone should go, because like you get to play really good opposition all the time, and every time you win, you get usually paired against somebody who's going to be even harder of a level, right? So, but I thought that the non-killing somebody is something that's actually something we can highlight for some beginner players. I think like not having to kill, especially a model like a Deathmark who can't kill you back easily in combat, and then staying safe in combat. I learned like literally 1 year into Kill Team that you could just use half of your, like I thought you could either not fight or fight, and then you'd have to polish it off. And then I was playing one of these players, one of the only girl players actually in the tournament at Nova. And she's like, I will do 2 damage to you, and then this third one I won't do. I was like, nah. I was like, what are you doing? I'm like 100 games into Kill Team. I've never seen this before. She's like, yeah. I called the judge over. I was like, how did I have never seen this? Right?
Yeah, you can blank parry. There's a bunch of different ways to do it.
So I love Kill Team in the sense that it's such a deep game that you could play so much, and there's always new things to discover. And obviously with the new edition, there's so many new layers that you can keep unraveling. And the fact that you played 6 teams that you had never even played before and came out with that record is highly impressive, Steven.
Technically,
Honestly.
4 teams if I count the fact that I fought Warpcoven twice and Novitiates twice. But yeah, that's over half the teams I fought. I just hadn't physically gotten a game in before.
And
But
it's
the skill ceiling of Kill Team is incredibly high, which is something I love about it as well.
it's so refreshing because like it's rewarding from the start, and then it's rewarding like hundreds of games in. There's so many parameters, right? I was just teaching the game to a new player when I was playing Angel last night, actually at the negative zone, and a player walked in from the street, Sean, a really nice guy, and we were teaching him as we went, and knowing that now there's 3 pillars of like the scoring, which I love. I'll ask you guys how you like that as well in the new edition, but I love Kill Teams actually rewards killing now instead of just point team, but having those 3 levels of scoring. I guess, Steve, since you've seen all 3 editions, would you say this one's your favorite by far?
I think it has the potential to be once it gets balanced.
Yes.
Like
It's fine.
I think last edition probably ended in a better space than this one is currently.
Yeah.
But when I look at a lot of the core changes, I think there's a lot of improvements, a lot of cleaning up of some rules. You know, things like the 1 to 2 inch bubble of death going away. I like that people start in conceal and then can switch to engage later. It reduces that sort of alpha strike potential that some teams had and some people didn't. So yeah, I'd say this edition, once it gets a balanced data slate, is probably going to be the definitive edition of Kill Team. You know, sometimes I try and forget Kill Team 1 even existed. You know, I had fun with it, but it's just, doesn't live up to these other editions.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think once the balance comes in, I think the bones of it are really, really good in this edition. It's simplified with the tac ops, which I think is good, and I think it's less rote. Like by the end of the last edition,
more faction tac ops is the big one for me. No
Yeah.
more of this team just wins because they get to take 2 free faction tac ops that they max for just playing the game.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to play with the same tac ops, which means you can now better reason what your opponent is going to take as well because of fewer variables to account for.
Yeah, and let's see if eventually, like after a year or 2, maybe they refresh the tac ops too. And
I have a feeling they might expand them out to like 6 per category and do some weirder, more esoteric ones.
I think it's cool. Certainly the crit ops being 9 is like a very huge mental challenge, even for me now. It's just to concept them out. I'm like,
It does help that like 4 of them are loot or secure with extra steps.
right?
Yeah.
But I take on pretty quickly information, but like for some reason the 9, I'm just like, what is it? Like every game.
Are
like,
we transmitting or are we uploading? What are we doing here?
Yeah. But Vivek, let's hit your recap of your tournament here. How did you?
I'll give a round by round rundown, and then I definitely want to talk about the game with Steven because that was probably my most fun one. So I went 2-1, 2-1, 3-0. I took a loss every day. They were all fun losses. It was a great time. So my first day, I played Legionaries into a man named Marco. He's a little newer to this edition. This was very much almost like a coaching game. But he took everything I taught him in game 1 and went and demolished his round 2 opponent, which is always like great to see. It was fun to see. Somebody, and then he came up to me afterwards and told me that he used a bunch of the tricks I told him in game 1 to go demolish game 2, so that's always fun. Then I had my rematch with Orion. He's on Plague Marines. I'm on Warpcoven. It was just a fun time. We had a blast with it. My dice were okay. His ability to roll those damage reduction dice was almost 100%. It was rough. It was a rough time walking up and like, I do a bunch of damage. Like, how about you just do like 25% less every single time?
Wow.
But it was a real back and forth for a minute. The game ended with like I had a handful of guys. He had like half his team up with 1 or 2 wounds left. It was goofy. It was a good time.
Wow. And Steve, Max, I don't know if you know last year that's the rematch of the final of last year. It was Max and Orion, and they were
Vivek and Orion.
I was finishing my game, and then I hear this massive like huge cheer from the other end of the hall, and I run over there, and then like Orion, I think he's like he was just, I don't know if he had his head down or something, but he was.
I mean, we both played the sweatiest game of our life, and
wow.
it was a 2-point victory for me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dakota, for making loot the last mission. It was the only thing that really kept me in that one.
Wow. And I watched that game back. It was a very amazing game of Kill Team. And you guys both played like so amazing. Orion's amazing.
I could use that to teach a master class on positioning for blocking charges.
Yeah, it was like Vivek had his vet guard all in like triangles, perfect triangles.
Triangles of death, so there's no way to multi-charge anybody, and anybody you could charge, I had someone who could immediately follow up without having to spend an APL to move. So you could follow up and then either move to safety or go move to a reposition on an objective. It was great. Great time. And then, of course, in Death Atonement, which they took from me, took my heart and soul from me by removing that ploy from the game as it was. It was my favorite way to get tempo.
I think it was really interesting to see, Vivek, that you were like, so you were the Vet Guard guy. Like, you had only played Vet Guard in second edition.
I played
How many games
game of Void Dancer Troop. I played one RTT as Void Dancers because we were hosting an RTT, and one of our friends forgot. I had given him my Vet Guard because they were filming a video and doing something, given it to him, and he forgot to bring it. But I think Niall had Void Dancers on him, so like, all right, I'll go play. First time playing Void Dancers, I think I came in second or third. It was great. Void Dancers teach you freedom. In last edition, when they had Fly, it was freedom. Like, oh, I'm playing on open. I can just hold a 9-inch ruler out. I can go anywhere. Anywhere in this.
It was amazing. It was amazing. But it was so cool to see you go like from Vet Guard and be like, what team am I gonna main this edition? And you were like, it was like,
I still don't know. I love
philosophical, esoteric decision.
Yeah, which I'm still grappling with. I love Warpcoven because I love Tzeentch Demons and Thousand Suns and all of that. I also love the fact they can flex into Zangors, that kind of stuff. But I still haven't found that spirit team. That team where like, yeah, I can play this literally every single game for 3 years and be super happy. Haven't found that team yet. Let me keep going. All right, game 3, played Wreck a Crew into a man named Eric. He is my vote for best sportsman.
Eric Cecil?
Yeah.
He's such a great guy, yeah.
He made a mistake in our game. Like, I handily won the game. He made a mistake in our game. He was double shooting with his leader, which you can't do. He hunted me down in between rounds, grabbed me. We went over to Dakota, and he gave me more points. Like, that's the kind of guy he is. We're talking, like, it was already like a 10 or 11 point game. I think I scored 19. I was totally fine with that. He came and found me and made sure that the scores were corrected because he made a mistake. That is a sign of a player with integrity. That's good stuff.
He is an absolute gentleman. I played him in Nova, and he had greenskins. He was playing greenskins this was our last tournament of the last edition. Patriarch versus Greenskin Knob. It was just the most epic game. He was like, I'm gonna go and we're just gonna play like. And he was such a good strategist, and we just had a really fun game. But now he's got his Rekkas. He was on Greenskins, and now he's got Rekkas. That's amazing.
Rekkas are interesting. Their main problem is if you can dance around their threat ranges, they are just too APL. Like, if you don't give them something offensive to do, and you just wait until you can go hit somebody where they can't really retaliate, they just end up being 2 APL guys who are move dashing up the board and sitting in places. If it feels like the leader should just be 3 APL base, I think that would fix it, to be honest. But really fun game, really great guy. So the day 1 games, all great. Went 2-1. Playing against Orion was a blast. He is a wonderful man to play a game against because he keeps it fucking happy and like talking shit the whole time. And I love it. I love that stuff. I like to do that myself. Going into day 2, I played Blooded against Mr. Bean himself. He is a very, very precise and exacting player. He knew that he was going to score 15 points in this game before we started the game. He knew exactly what his plan was, and he executed his plan. I just happened to be able to score 3 more points. Like, he got all of the points that he thought he was going to get based on his plan, and he just needed to be holding me back a little bit, but I got a little bit extra on the kill op, a little bit extra on the crit op to kind of push it over the end.
Wow.
But he knew exactly. Yeah, it was a phenomenal game. ITD definitely gave me the edge into Blooded. I used free mission action Sorcerer a lot to just pair your Temperian and your Destiny Sorcerer together. Put them up towards doors. Destiny, free mission action open, go move, shoot 2 guys, teleports back, Temperian you activate, you just close the door. And you sit and wait. You just sit and wait. Like, all right, I'm going to do this 3 times, TP 2, 3, 4. And then somebody just go like tap the point every now and again kind of thing. So I went with a plan, he went in with a plan. I just happened to eke out a few more points. Great game. Which, speaking of plans, this time around, I went in with a game plan. I'm like, I'm going to take 3 Sorcerers, 2 Rubrics, 2 Zangors, and play security every single game. All 9 games. I'm not even going to look at beacons. I'm going to pretend like plant beacons doesn't exist.
Wow.
Set it off to the side. I think I played Take Ground in all of the games except for the one against Steven, where I played Contain.
Wow.
I play, every single one. I'm play Take
Wow.
Ground. I'm going to use all my APL. I'm not planting any beacons. I'm just going to go Take Ground on Open and ITD.
And go
which
for
was-
the doors. The doors in IT.
Doors in
was it-
ITD and Fortresses in Volcus.
I think Take Ground probably on the Dakota maps was a bit easier. What do you guys think?
On the ITD ones, yeah, he had some spicy spots where it's like, if you take the right side, you can hold these 2 doors with 1 guy.
Wow.
Yeah, he had a lot of doors sitting at right angles, right next to, like, perpendicular to each other.
Because Take Ground on the new on the Games Workshop ITD boards is quite tough. You're like holding.
I think there's 1 or 2 maps
There's
where you
1 or
can
2
double
maps.
hold. Yeah.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's very much you gotta at least play like 50% on the map kind of thing to score all those points. After Blooded, I played. I think this was not my second loss yet. I played into Corsairs, a guy named Eddie. It was another really cool game. I just spent the entire game being like, I just don't want to be anywhere near any of your piercing shooting. So I just killed everybody else and then danced around because he's heavy dash. He can move dash guard with 3 APL. But you just kind of play around it. Like, I just don't want to get shot by this piercing thing. I think I used my Zangors to initiate all the trades. And then it was just their 8 wound elves just like slowly trade them down while I'm busy scoring doors. I think he took confirmed kill on this one, if I'm not mistaken, which was rough for him. Like, he got the 2 points from the 2 Zangors, but then he never got another kill token down in a place where he could interact with it. Because somewhere later on in the game, a Rubric died in my backfield. It's like, you're never gonna get up to this token at this point. Like, it's too far away. Then I got my second loss, which surprisingly, having played a ton of Phobos against Max, I lost to Phobos in round 6. Sam Rosen, I think he's on Hockey's team, Bats. Yeah. Great guy. This was 6th game of the day. He forgot a bunch of stuff. Like, he picked the wrong operatives, picked the wrong scouting option. I let him do whatever, because when he didn't take the Vox Breaker, I'm like, are you okay? Are you okay? And then as we're revealing operatives and about to start deploying, he's like, oh shit, I picked the wrong guy. I'm like, yeah, just swap it out. It's fine. When we go to scout, he reveals the number of dice and says his scouting option out loud, but has the wrong number of dice in his hand for the option.
Man.
I'm like, yeah, dude, it's fine. Take what you need. None of those things lost me the game. What lost me the game was this man could not stop rolling a minimum of 2 crits for every shooting attack. Every single one. He didn't drop a dice on a shooting attack until TP4 when the game was already over. It was, all right, yeah, I'm just going to move up. Yeah, I'll shoot the Rubric who is ignoring my piercing and re-rolling all saves. All right, here's 3 crits and a hit, and then here's 3 crits and a hit again.
Oh my god.
It was wild. It was wild to see the little infiltrator walk up and take down a 2-up save full reroll Rubric with 2 shooting attacks. It was a lot. It was hilarious.
Oh my god.
But it did set me up to go into day 3 and not really give a fuck. I was like, dude, I've lost twice. I can play the next 3 games for fun. And then I happened to play against 3 really hard opponents. So I played game 1 against Brett Bouchard on Corsairs. I just took everything I learned from the first Corsairs game and just reapplied it here. He was way better with his gunners, and I was making more aggressive trades, but I still felt like I was trading up, and it all worked out because I was holding doors again. And I think he was trying to do beacons, but he did not have the APL or the positioning to try and do the beacons. There wasn't enough cover. So he was reaching the point where it's like, okay, I can plant my beacons in relative safety, but if I'm going to go plant a beacon in your side, this guy is just exposed and is going to die. So he got, I think, 1 beacon off of my territory, and like I just got picked up. Got picked up immediately. I don't think he even went for another beacon, because So at that point, he's trading his beacon points for me just slowly maxing the kill op. If he wants to send 3 operatives down in TP234 to die for a beacon, I'll take that because I'm going to make up like two-ish points on the back end with the kill op. Like, that's fine. And he starts to lose pieces and threats. Again, great guy. Like, I didn't have a single bad opponent all tournament. 9 games was great. Always a good time. Round 8, I got to play against Jeshua Kelly again for the 3rd time in a row. I've played him every single LVO I've gone to.
Wow.
I'm currently 3-0 into him every single time. He played Legionaries.
You avenged me, and I avenged Max.
Yeah, exactly. We have like a nice triangle of vengeance here. I think like he played a pretty tight game, but Warpcoven on open, I've played against Legionaries so many times on open. I just measured everything out. I sat in places where it's like, yeah, if you want to move dash, shoot your plasma pistol with your leader into my rubric, come on down kind of thing, but I'm staying out of charge ranges, staying out of anything. I gave him, it was basically a masterclass in Cage. I gave him one option, like, here's my one Soul Reaper cannon that's positioned slightly higher up than everybody else. He's got full save rerolls. You've got a Melta that can access him. You have a leader who can move dash access him. He happened to take champion, which I didn't know until TP2 started after I'd staged all this stuff up. So it reveals champion. He picks his Melta. He goes for it. Goes for the rubric. He rolls decently well, but, I swap out a crit out for a fate die. I'm still rolling like 2 dice, rerolling all. He ended up taking 7 damage from the shoot attack.
Oh, wow.
And then no damage from the bolt pistol second shot. And then I'm like, okay, I immediately just activate my flamer who's sitting there watching where the Melta has to sit. Double shoot, pick up the Melta, and I just caged up. So we kind of went back and forth. He missed out his champion TP2, which was big. He staged up really aggressively, and I couldn't really go out and do damage to the people he had staged up, so I was busy killing people on the off flank, because I'm playing take ground, so I really don't care about what's going on over there. I'm playing this building over here kind of thing. So I'm like, yeah, I left a Sorcerer and a Zangor over there. They went and tapped some points, did some stuff. But near the end of TP2, he had positioned someone up aggressively enough that I could charge him with the Zangor, which he wants. He's like, yeah, dude, come charge me with your Zangor. I got Slash Ploy up, I'm -1 to hit. But I just charged Sat so that the Zangor is in the fortress. And the one little Zangor champion scored take ground against Legionaries because he couldn't set foot in the fortress. I put barbed wire down so there's no cover inside. The only way that I could step in and feel safe is like, yeah, I'll tag you up. You're going to kill him next turning point. It's totally fine. It was going to get me 2 points with a 2 APL Zangor, which was great.
Wow.
And then from there, it was just, I traded harder back and forth than he could, and he lost bodies. He hung his leader out after he had taken some damage. I'd moved dashed up my Soul Reaper cannon and did 9 damage to him, and then he Temperian slingshotted back, which was fun. I managed to pick him up with full seek with Devastating 1. I did like,
Wow.
he had what, 5 or 6 wounds left? Like, yeah, roll it, swap in a crit, do my ceaseless. We got a handful of crits and some hits. He failed some saves, managed to take the leader out before he could get any healing off or do anything. At that point, he was down 2 operatives, and I think I had lost just my Zangor champion. It was very much just like the ball's in my court. I'd full pivoted all my operatives to the side of the board where I'm trying to do take ground. He's trying to run and catch up to me with his Anointed. Anointed gets... He does manage to kill 1 Sorcerer, but it costs him his life kind of thing. Like, he's got to go move dash up way out in the open to try and get this done. Got it done, but then just dies in return, sort of thing. His banner is just permanently on his home point, because I believe we were playing Loot, if I'm not mistaken. One of the ones where you have to tap it every turn. You want that point. So his banner was just hanging out in the back. He popped up and took a bolt gun shot once. Didn't really do much. It was just that initial positioning and trading just gave me that 0-for-1 trade, especially on the Melta, which is one of their more useful operatives into Warpcoven. Pick up the Melta, and then we're just kind of smooth sailing. Like, I'm scoring my stuff. I'm not giving up too much kill op. And then, yeah, I basically killed everybody else except for the banner who was hiding in the back. I think it was like a 7-point game. Not too bad, but it definitely, like, it highlighted my reps into Legionaries. Like, I know exactly what's going on. I used my piercing to hunt down the non-Nurgle operatives first, and then just sort of bludgeoned the Nurgle operatives to death with Doom Bolt and Devastating Wounds and stuff like that.
That's all. He won the SoCal Open.
Yeah.
With Legionaries, so that's awesome that you got him with when he was on Legionaries there too.
3-0. We'll see what happens next year.
Yeah.
Then the last game was into Steven, where this was probably one of the funnier games. So we both took Contain. We both took barbed wire. Yeah, we both took Contain. We both took barbed wire and 2 light barricades. We plugged up literally every single space on the midline that could be blocked. We blocked it. everything we could. Like, the only thing that wasn't perfectly blocked is because there was a fortress on the middle line, so you had that 2-inch bubble. So Steven had, like, an angled barbed wire, but it was angled and touching something else. So it left, like, a tiny slice where you could be in his territory and be on the middle point. But other than that, the whole center line was blocked. You had to climb something to try and get across it. And we just caged up and kind of sat back. So the only thing I was doing is, like, fly sorcerer's going to go kill people and come back and do that a few times. I think
where I feel like I lost the game was almost kind of before the game began, because I took the Technomancer against Sammy, and I thought, oh, that worked pretty well. Let's take him again. But what I didn't realize, and particularly on open with your flying sorcerers, is just how much non-reciprocal threat you have. You know, the Technomancer's really good at, you pop out, you hopefully don't kill me, or if you do, I reanimate, you know, I heal back up, and okay, now you've poked your head out, now it can cut off your head. But you have so many tools, like especially that slingshot ability, where you can come
fly
right
out, shoot twice, go back underneath in full safety.
So that was the whole game with this guy, was just like popping his head out, doing his thing, and then ducking back in and giving me nothing to shoot at. And I'm like,
exactly. The goal was,
oh my god, where's my Chronomancer? Where's my 6-inch teleport to get into his back line? And I plugged everything up. What have I done?
And he left me just a small TP2. I just threw my Soul Reaper Cannon rubric all the way up, move dash, tap the middle point, and sit to deny 1 point of contain. And it's like, yeah, he died immediately. We're like, all right, he got a point, denied a point, and made your leader have to come out unengaged. Yep. But yeah, the whole game was just, as I didn't want to eat a single Deathmark shot, and I don't think I did. My goal was like, I don't want the Deathmarks to shoot me at all whatsoever. Never again, kind of thing. So it was just bouncing back and forth, tapping the points.
You played really well. Like I said, you just played the non-reciprocal threats incredibly well. If I have to play Warpcoven on open, I'm going back into my comfort zone. I'm taking my Chronomancer. I'm like, can't let that happen again.
Yeah, shutting off the rerolls would have been pretty big. I mean, it really helped that I rolled 6-5 on Fate Dice. All 3 turning points I used it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you rolled
6-5,
5-6, 5-6, 5-6.
Wow.
I think 3 turns in a row, which that definitely felt a little brutal.
That's
not what lost me the game. That's not what lost me the game. Again, it was Vivek played really well. He took advantage of his non-reciprocal threats and left me with very little options to actually punish any time he'd step up and murk one of my dudes.
Yeah.
I think the funniest thing in our game was the Zangor jumping off down to the door to doorway fight your accelerator. People rarely use jump, and it was a place where it was super useful. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna jump. I'm gonna go. I think it was for about like 4 inches, and then the 2-inch drop from the stronghold. Whoop! Doorway fight.
Yep. No. Yeah, you played it really well. So I'm not mad about that loss at all.
Oh, wow.
I think it's just like when you take contain and when everything's plugged up, it's just whoever happens to have slightly more mobility is going to be able to deny it. And yeah, it's like, all right, I was happy to suicide a rubric because I took out a couple guys TP2. Like, all right, let's feed the rubric up. Let's see if you even have contain, because at that point I didn't know what you had. I assumed once you take barbed wire and both barricades, like, yeah, probably contain. Let's go check it. You did die immediately. Like did the conduit and picked him up with the piercing gun, like immediately.
Yeah. Wow.
But it was worth. You got 2 points. Yeah, it was a great game. It was Hierotech was. I think the one thing maybe you could have done was keep the second Deathmark back, because he was kind of up near the front, which let me kill him early in TP2. If he's just like in the back, he can be your counterpunch sort of thing.
I think I mispositioned both of them actually, because I think where I put my first Deathmark and I went on the Deathmark guard, it could have had more threat if I had.
I think it should have been where your leader was. Better. Like if he was on the corner with his head sticking out, so he could kind of see the rest of the battlefield.
Exactly. I was thinking about that on post. I was like, why was he over here? Like he could actually see very little of. I essentially chose 1/3 of the battlefield on the one side over giving him guard on 2/3 of the battlefield on the other side, and I was just like, why did I even do that? So. Yeah.
In my mind, I thought you assumed I had taken take ground, which is why he was hanging out there, because if I want to go take this ground, somebody's going to have to get a guard shot.
Yeah. But no, I don't think I was just thinking about it at all, but yeah.
Wow. And in terms, so we heard about the tac ops that you guys are choosing. Max, what tac ops did you guys do, or did you do?
I think all 9 games, it was plant bacon. Just feeling like a vegan at the end of the day.
It's like the inverse. I did all security. I did pretend like plant beacons didn't exist, and Max is like, "There's only plant beacons."
I actually only took contain a couple times. I took a lot of confirmed kill against most of my Space Marine matchups. I
Yeah,
think
anyone where they want to come up and hit you in the face, confirmed kill is solid because they're gonna be up there if you just secure
I
it.
think you were the only Marine team that I took contain, and something about the map and the ability to choke it up with the razor wire and barricades kind of inspired that, which obviously bit me in the ass, but that was my thought going into that game. I think for almost every other game I did confirm kill, just because it meshes better with my super aggressive Necron playstyle. If I'm launching a dude up within 2, then I can kill him and put that confirmed kill immediately within range of my guy. So and especially against a Marine team that's potentially scoring me 2 points right then and there.
That's awesome. You guys, just hearing you talk and how you concepted and the strategy behind each game, I think it's really inspiring for anyone listening to this to go in with a plan, know your team well, know how you like to play your team, and then knowing a decent amount of matchups and playing against the matchups. If you're not Steve, of course, who can just do it on the fly. I think the level of preparation and thoughts that you guys have thought about it, and I think the non-reciprocal, like thinking about what's my plan, what's my non-reciprocals, where can I prevent my guy from dying immediately if I kill somebody else. I think those are all really good points that I got from each of your breakdowns there.
Oh, and you pointed out me learning stuff on the fly. I think that's where a hyper aggressive play style really comes into play. Perhaps that's why I'm struggling so much with the Psychomancers. I feel like you need to know the opponent very well to know when you can advance up the board and be safe and play cagey. If I'm just going full on aggression, like I'm not even counterplaying that much. I'm just looking for the threats that I can kill. I'm looking for you moving up your operatives a little bit too far, and all I'm doing is looking to punish that. And I don't need to know the exact minutia of your rules for the most part to do that. So I think part of my hyper aggressive play style helped compensate for my lack of knowledge of some of these teams.
Wow, I think that's a really good point. That's a really good point. And because your hyper aggressive play style is not an obvious one, I think that plays really well into it. Like the fact that you're teleporting guys up on concealed guards that can help you be like almost safe in your hyper aggression. And it's a really tricky play that not a lot of people get reps into Hierotech. Think that also would be a good factor there too. But guys, we're gonna go to I have my Drool cup here, and we're gonna go to the hobby part of it right now. And from what I saw, the hobby was incredible. I knew what Max was bringing. Vivek, your Warpcoven looked great as well, man. But
they look okay.
But I'm gonna share the screen here. Let's see here.
They got a good base going. We'll get to it.
Yeah,
unless they get nerfed to the dirt. While you're bringing that up, the one time I altered my plan was against Steven. I took 4 Zangors instead of 2, which was very much an in the moment. I'm sitting there staring at the team, hemming and hawing, like I could take 8 and have activation parity. I'm like, yeah, okay, fuck it, let's try it. One game, I'm like, yeah, let's improvise. Let's go away from this plan where like I'm only gonna take 2 Zangors every game.
Oh yeah, that's a fantastic photo right there.
This is the photo right here. You guys absolutely smashed it. Koa is supposed to be on the podcast too, so shout out to Koa.
Yeah,
you guys look at the scores that you guys had, just incredible. Looks like you guys had an incredible time, and it looked really cool. It looked like a great vibe again. This was actually my favorite part of Vegas, seeing this last year too, the water show. Did you guys see any shows?
I tried. Every time I go, I try and see if something's going to line up, and nothing was tickling my fancy this time. And what I did want to see wasn't playing in the same weekend. So that's just it is what it is. It's the off season for Vegas.
Yeah,
I saw a couple awesome ones. I went to see the Cirque du Soleil, and I'd never seen any Cirque du Soleil before, but watched that and I was like, holy crap! Okay. See why people go to these. That was quite an amazing show there.
Wow.
I saw Shin Lim. I usually try and do a magic show. Penn and Teller. I've been a big fan of them.
Yeah, I got to see Penn and Teller. It was great.
But they're on tour right now, so I couldn't see them. But I was like, you know what? I've seen Shin Lim on Penn and Teller. So yeah, he put on an amazing show that blew my mind as well. Yeah, I think those were my 2 like big highlights for Vegas shows.
Wow. Yeah, Penn and Teller were in the Rio last time that we were there, I think. Yeah. And so that's I mean, I think that's a really cool thing about LVO is that you get to do those shows. And then
It is neat. Honestly, wish I had a day extra on either end to go do more stuff. Because you are quite exhausted after walking in for 3 games, and then plus you got to talk to all your teammates about the strategies for the next day and everything. There's a lot you got to cover.
Yeah, I remember last time sleep did not find me any of the nights, so I was just like, I'm like roasted. I gotta go to.
Yeah. There's a problem with me too. Like I'm going to bed on time, and it's like, yeah, why don't you wake up at like 2:33 in the morning? It's fine. Just do that.
That was me in Atlanta. I woke up at 4 a.m. the second night.
Oh, dude, I didn't get any sleep in Atlanta. I think I got maybe 6 hours of sleep over the course of the whole thing.
It just abandoned me. I was trying to do like everything I could. I need to bring a horse tranquilizer next time I go. Just like old school.
No 5-hour energy this trip. I had exactly 2 cups of coffee a day, and that was it for caffeine.
Wow.
No more 15 hours of 5-hour energy, okay? No more of that.
Vivek last year, LVO chugged like, not chugged, but
15 hours of 5-hour energy a day. 1 per game.
Yeah, until Voyan this in Atlanta, Voyan's like,
kill you.
As a nurse, I advise against that. He's like, okay, yeah. But yeah, let's take a look here at the this was this part of the art?
So this was just outside there was something's vault.
Oh yeah, Varric's vault, something like that.
Something like that. But this is not Kill Team. This was just something that impressed me. It was a Talon R little diorama thing for one of the other painting competitions that was going on, because it wasn't just Kill Team at LVO. There was a whole bunch of other stuff going on. There was Kill Team, a bunch of other games, and a bunch of painting competitions as well. So some really good Verko's Vault. That's what it's called. Some entries submitted to their competitions.
Looks incredible. And now we're Kill Team now, right?
This is Chris Barkey's Eldar, the Blades.
Nice.
So he infamously lost in the finals against Sammy, but his models did really well, and I think he won some prizes for his hobby. So
nice.
Please tell me you have a picture of the upside down dwarves in here, please.
Quite possibly.
Yeah. Impressive that he I didn't know he was into a hobby like that. That's awesome. And did well with Blades of Cain. Oh, did someone do Skaven Rattlings?
He's a Skaven Wormblade, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, that's super cool.
Dang, nice. All right, so no one took my idea. We're gonna release the video for this very shortly, but that's wicked. I love when AOS or like Warhammer Fantasy goes into 40K and vice versa. I think
they should make a Skaven Kill Team. Like
they have
Felgor. They could just put in Skaven and be like, guys, it's cute, it's fun. Play the Skaven team.
Skaven are my favorite faction that GW owns property for. I'd be
they're easily in my top 3.
I think
they're so cool.
They've done amazing, like with all the green, everything is just incredible. Here's we're going backwards here, but there you guys are in the standings. So hold on. I gotta find a proper way to go here. Now let's go this way.
This is Scooby Doo.
Yeah, that's cute.
That's
the Cemetery of Shade. No way, all the colors are like Scooby Doo mobile.
Yeah, and then the rhino at the back is painted like the mystery mobile.
That's so cool.
The mystery mobile.
He would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you meddling guys.
Meddling Warpcoven.
Wow.
This was one of my favorites.
Show. Yeah. I believe it was Aiden. But I saw this and I was like, okay, that's definitely my favorite. The face and the back is illuminated by an LED. You'll see up front the bombast is the driver for one of the vehicles. So, but it just looks like he's whipped his coat out back and he's done a quick draw, all sorts of stuff like that, and just really simple idea, but really well executed.
Look at the bases and how they line up with the detail on the diorama itself. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty
like look at the on the center dais and just go around and it perfectly lines up with everything. Like, this is masterclass in diorama building.
That's so cool. And he's got like Orcs' best
because they're retaking this thing from Orcs. There's dead Orcs all over the place.
Dude, yeah, he's got the dead Orcs strewn across, just like slumped over.
I'm going to try and swing for the fences with a display board like this. I have some recast Thunderhawks. I'm going to do something with that.
That's This was awesome.
Hey,
Oh,
dude, there's my
a
favorite.
troll.
My favorite is Max's because I love
Yes.
Raptors. I love the fact there's a crashed plane on there, and there's a Lord Invocatus permanently sealed to this board. Did you manage to get him out of the board?
I've not tried, but I need to dig them out in time for our team's tournament.
Oh my
This
god.
is my display board here. I had an idea of I love my Raptors. I play them in TK as my Space Marines when I do play them. And I realized that, yeah, given that they're very tactically flexible, they can camouflage themselves according to their environment. And I took some inspiration from scale modelers here. So I wanted to do that sort of World War II era, a washable white camouflage that you'd put on tanks. The idea is the squad has been dispatched to help rescue Gene Seed from a crashed pilot, recover the flight data, but as they land and get set up, Lord Invocatus comes along like a herald of the apocalypse and is like, all right, you guys are not going to have a good time now. We got Arenas posted up on the cliff.
Based on Max's write-up, they attempt to engage him in melee combat.
Yeah,
Don't do that. Don't do that, Space
mistakes.
Marines.
I love this. This is like
It's super cool.
I love when the lore, like for me, it's like the fourth pillar is the lore, right? And so when you get the lore in there and it's like, look at this, Voxcom is like reporting back to the main base. They have a mission code.
Yep,
They're
it's
encrypted.
nice touch. It really is.
Wow. And it's like, I love the Voxcom. He's like, Kodal, this is Garrus. We secured the crash site and begun the extraction of Stonehawk's data core. No hostile contact at first. Site appears clear. However, we've encountered a far greater threat. The World Eaters, Lord Invocatus himself, leading a full warband of traitors, have descended on our position. We're engaged in close quarters combat, and the enemy's ferocity is unmatched. Strike team is holding, but we're being overwhelmed. Command, we need immediate support or extraction. The position is compromised. The data core is secure, but we're not sure how much longer we can hold. Be advised, the World Eaters have us surrounded. I repeat, surrounded. Over. Dude, I love that this is like an ode to your World Eaters as well.
Yes, the two armies coming together in an epic confrontation.
Yeah,
Love
and
it.
Super cool.
and it that paragraph that you made, like captures kill team itself, is like they have there's another, is not just to kill the opposition, you have like other coordinates that you have to upload and things that you have to extract, right? So
That was the idea. So nice little scene there. Did some kit bashing as well. You'll see my marksman I'm particularly proud of.
I was just going to bring up, I was like, I hope we have a close-up of your marksman, because I think when I saw your display, that was the first thing I said. I said, this guy here, I'm like, I'm absolutely in love with it.
Is this the marksman right here?
This is that's the infiltrator sergeant.
Okay, here. Let me see if I can open it in browser. I'm just going to open a few of your pictures in browser so we can
Yeah, I really appreciate this.
fully
For me, it's the suppressors. Anybody with a suppressor on their gun is aces in my book.
I'm going to open this in yeah, here we go. I'm just going to reshare here and open in, there we go. Oh yeah, here we go. We're going to reshare this and here we are. You guys can see this now?
Yep.
All right. Now we can have
There you go.
that
There's
guy.
the close up.
Now we can have the close up here. Look at that. I think you shared this to our Discord, even just these base guys before you had done anything. And I was like, these are the most badass Phobos poses I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, it was just the gray model that you had posted. And to see it painted is like, this guy's so bad. He's unbelievably badass. I think that's what I wrote in the Discord too. Like, just like, he's like, Lord Invocatus, I'm going to mess you up.
You won me.
Yeah. And I love
V1
look at the crash site. Like, just look at the,
I'm a T4 2-1 space marine.
look at
Put 'em
this,
on.
just look at this detail here in the crash site with like the fallen space marine to the next, like, I just think you posed that fallen space marine so sick. Here's another angle. Let's see if we can get closer. Look at that tree. That tree is incredible. And look, this guy has like camouflage on his head, right?
Yeah, so I took some cheesecloth, made it to embellish some of the capes, and then also decided for an infiltrator, he's just my normal warrior, so we'll give him a bit of camo scrim netting. So if he's down,
Forgot his
prone,
helmet.
he
Didn't
plays
want
a
anyone
bit
to see
better.
you.
Yeah. He was having a bad hair day, so.
Exactly. Also means you don't have to paint his face.
Yeah, the extra snow alongside like the tree and like the big trunk that they're on. Like that's such a nice touch as well. You did a really good job with that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, my jewel cup is like mounting right now. This is amazing. Like, look, I love the detail. I love like the blood falling from like the raptor. Or were they Raptor Company or?
Yeah, they're Raptors. So this was the veteran, but I
Best
kit
Space
bashed him with there's the heavy intercessor. You got his arm, a bit of Phobos on the backpack, and then it's the lieutenant with combi weapon from the Leviathan box for that carapace arm.
That's so sweet. Let me see if I got in there.
Lord Invocatus' third-person
Yeah.
camera. I'm about
And-
to kill 10 Space Marines.
Right? And the thing I loved about this Lord Invocatus, people can't really notice it through this, but there's a little pool where the demon beast has just stepped, and that is water. So if you look in the details, like the snow has melted underneath the fiery hoof of this beast. And I think that level of realism and detail is just incredible, man. And like, look at the pool of mud. Like it looks like I'm looking at mud. Like you can just be in the scene right away. Right? This is just amazing, amazing.
Thank you.
Dude, man, I'm seeing
Max, it's still my favorite, like, hands down.
There we are.
100%.
I sent you the marksman since you didn't get a close up.
Oh yeah, sorry. Let me get the close.
Into the version, but you'll at least see his pose.
Oh yeah. Let me just open this link here. Here we go. Check this out. This is what I say about the plastic. Like even just the gray just looks so badass. This guy has literally like 4 cameras.
Yeah, man,
like
he's got the quad
We're gonna
nods.
ignore how like the Space Marine helmet is probably doing just as good a job, if not better a job than modern night vision goggles. But rule of cool always got to prevail.
It's like it's magically dark where he's going, so he needs psychic powered night vision to see through it.
well, he doesn't just have smoke. He has like this thick cloud that comes out. Like, yeah, and all you see is just a gunshot just come out of it. I love how he has like a second suppressed sniper on his back too.
Who has time to reload?
Just in case he wants to he can use both of his visions and just shoot through with both at the same time. Oh my god, man. That looks incredible. Honestly, I think the hobby is, we just saw the hobby is next level. There was a hobby track now, ITC points as well for Dakota. He was doing ITC points for hobby, which I think is such a great thing because it is that solid pillar that so many of us get into Warhammer because of the models in the hobby, and we fall in love with the game, which gets us more excited about painting and building the kill team. So I think rewarding the hobby is such a good direction to go. So how did they score the hobbies? Did they go around like this?
There's a showcase and stuff.
Yeah, so they roped in some guys from the AK booth, some guys from the Artist Opus booth. Actual Games Workshop came down to have a look as well from the 40K room. Took a precursory look on day 1. Gave you a quick heads up if you'd made the showcase, and mine thankfully did. And then on day 2 in the evening, they had the judges go around and have a look, and they posted a rubric of what sort of things they were looking for. And so I tried to hit every aspect. They didn't say what they're going to weight more heavily than others. So based on the feedback that I spoke to judges afterwards, seems like I weighed too heavy on some sides, too light on others, but at least now I know what to focus on for next year. But yeah, they had the judges come around, and there was some great feedback and some very worthy winners.
Wow. You're number 1 in our books, Max.
Anytime.
Always.
Man, I started a second Jewel Cup. My first one overflowed over here. All right. I think this is a great spot. It's a little lengthy, but I think this is going to be
That was
great.
great. We covered everything. It was awesome.
We covered everything. Honestly, like I feel like I was there with you guys. I was supposed to be there with you. This is the
I
best.
missed you, man. I missed you out there.
Man, I missed you
You're
guys.
you're my rock to get rejazzed every day. You know, no matter what happens, you will be there with a smile on your face, ready to go, unbreakable, unshakable.
After 5 coffees, I got that smile. It's not always there when I wake up. But yeah, I missed you guys, and I was so happy to relive this with you guys right now. And it's gonna be so good for the viewers. I hope we go with a contingent of like 30 Canadians next time.
Yeah,
And
that'd be awesome.
we'll need to like properly have like all Team Canada and make
Speaking
it
of
like,
which, we gotta make WTC Team Canada at some point. That's something we should put on the 2025 goals for everybody.
yeah, I feel like guaranteed all three of you guys are going for sure. I'm putting that out there to the universe. You guys are going, and I'll try
We'll see.
my best
The
to go.
big thing is just like it's a much bigger trip than going to the US. So we'll see. Well,
WTC. I was thinking the World Championships. Yeah,
playing in it's either Sweden or Norway this year. It's a much bigger trip.
that's the team championships. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
thinking the World Championships. Yeah,
But if they
I
bring,
think you can make a good showing because this is a good team right here. I think.
well, yeah, like as a country, like we do pretty good. Canada punches way above its population's weight.
yeah. I think we can do it. I think we definitely like. We didn't go last year. There's no Canada representation last year. And Max is now
So
an official citizen of
Yeah,
Canada.
we got an official Canadian over
Let's
here.
go.
Official. Gotta
I'm switching to Team US by.
Let's go. Yeah, man. Brexit can eat it. I'm half English, so I'm very fired up about that too. But guys, thank you so much for being on here. Thank you for your time.
Pleasure.
tonight.
Anytime.
Thank
And
you.
you guys are all badass individuals. Just took down Smash the LVO, and can't wait for next year, and WTC on the horizon, and certainly World Championships. Let's aim. We'll all go together.
We could do it. Look, we are more than capable of putting together an 8-man team and going and socking it to them. Anybody can get the smoke.
Amazing. And we got to come up. I just want to shout out the next things coming up. Steven, you wanted to shout out a Regina tournament, right?
Yeah, Paul has been running our local tournaments for some time, and he does an exceptional job. And he's pulling out all the stops for a particularly big one. I've got a link here. It's called the Western Prairie Open Kill Team Championships. It's happening on June 28th, and it'll be a 2-day 6-round tournament, so ending on June 29th. And he's shared a couple of his ideas with me, and like, yeah, if we could get some people out here from all over Canada, we'd love to have you guys, because this is going to shape up to be one hell of a tournament.
Already booked my vacation for that. I'm there.
Awesome.
Dude,
Looking
There's
forward
like
to it.
going to be like a huge sword or something, right? Like,
Yeah, without giving too much away, he's got a massive
wow.
he's got a massive battle axe that he's personally engraved. I'd love to go home with that thing personally, because it is badass looking.
You just walk around with this big battle axe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's no, man. You feel like $1 million with that for sure, man. Well,
But
yeah,
if you guys can make it, or know someone who'd be interested in making it, we'd love to get this out to as many people as we can, because we're really excited about it.
awesome. All right, guys. So end of June, June
28th.
June 28th and 29th, 2 days.
June 28th, 29th. Everyone book your calendar right now. We're going to Regina. We're going. It's an
Alex, you're
easy-
coming. I don't care what you
It's
got going
easy
on. I'll
trip.
drag you down
Yeah.
there. I'll put you in my check-in. You're coming along.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Steve, it was great to meet you, and thank you so much, guys. We're gonna end it here.
All right. Have a good night,
OVO
everybody.
2025. That's a wrap. Let's
Yep,
go.
another one on the books.
Hell yeah.
On to next
Right on.
year.
On to next year. All right,
Yeah.
guys. Take care.
Thanks so
All right,
much.
have a good night, gentlemen.
Good night.